Welcome to Between the Covers, the show for readers and writers and lovers of books. I'm Stephanie, and I'm a publisher at Red Penguin Books, where we publish books of all types and genres. So whether you have a manuscript all ready to go, or perhaps a book still stuck in your head, or even 400 sheets of loose leaf shoved in a drawer, visit us at redpenguinbooks.com and unleash your inner author. We have such a variety tonight of authors who have unbelievably unleashed themselves. Our first author tonight is Steph Nassau, who wrote She Rises, a beautiful personal journey that you're going to want to hear all about. Michael Goodwin is the author of Vice Versa, an alternative history of the 2020 presidential election. That sounds a little terrifying at the moment, but dying to hear about that. And then Abigail Manning is the author of Poisoned Heart, a retelling of Snow White. We're going to start, though, with Steph, and she writes about She Rises. These pieces are a direct reflection of going through the motions of the human condition, learning about life and that death is a part of life, going through hell just to find the light again. It is a compilation of healing of life's ruptures and repairs. Throughout the years, I have taken great solace in writing and photography. I've compiled this book of both in hopes to spread light on self-love, acceptance, relationships, abuse, and continuing to rise up through it all. I hope to help people who feel like they are not good enough to see their unique light and strength through even the darkest of times. So excited to have our author here on the show. I love that description. Love every word of it.
Thank you so much.
And I know that that's truly you. That's like from the heart. Why you did it is your journey and to walk with other people on their journeys.
Absolutely. That's really my sole purpose. I really wanted to have a voice and to help other people feel less alone and love themselves and just stand up for other women and let people know that everybody's going through similar things and we just don't talk about it enough.
You're right. You're right. And when you find out that other people, when you whether you're reading a book and you see yourself in it or watching a movie or a show and you're like, my God, I did that too. It does. It makes you feel so much less alone.
Yes, absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about your journey and like how long was this book in process? I know it's poems, it's photographs. Like, are we talking 6 months, 6 years? What was the whole trajectory here?
Yeah, so I started writing these poems when I was in high school. So it has been about, I wouldn't say 8 years, probably 6 years.
Okay.
So my senior year in high school, I had a creative writing class and I absolutely loved it. And I wrote a lot of my best pieces in there. And my professor, well, teacher, I guess you say, I'm used to college stuff, sorry. My teacher at the time was telling me that I had a real talent and I could do something with it. And it was very therapeutic for me, especially I still have a lot of anxiety and depression growing up. And really to find solace in that was incredible. So over the years, as things would happen, I would find myself writing them down and creating these poems and also doing photography as well. So lately in the last year, I was looking for a job and obviously the market isn't exactly what it used to be or anywhere close to easy to find a job. So basically I decided to compile everything in a Canva document and create a book. And I didn't even realize how amazing the journey would be and that I would find Red Penguin Books and they would traditionally publish my book. So I'm incredibly grateful.
Completely my pleasure. But your journey that you went through with all this. Well, one thing I'm so glad you did was huge shout out to creative writing teachers in high schools everywhere. Like seriously, you don't know. I've been on that side of the desk my whole life, and you don't know what an impact you are making. That's a huge shout out. I'm so glad you said that. I do want to ask you a little bit about photography. I know you're into photography, and this is one of yours on the cover. Tell me a little bit about photography when you're in it. Like, how do you have some control over that? I'm just really dying to ask that, because I love taking pictures. I don't think I'm certainly not good at it, but any tips are totally helpful.
I'm sure you're great at photography, but yes, so for me, photography is really a collaborative art. And I, for years, have loved to find photographers that share my passion for it and like to collaborate and have visions. I have a lot of visions constantly. I have ideas for photo shoots I'll do with other people, taking pictures of them or taking pictures of me. So I just love the production of it all, really. And that's really where it comes from. The picture on the cover is me. One of my professors from Hood College actually took that.
Wow.
Yes, it was a fairy-esque type of inspired shoot. So that definitely made it look very woodland creature-like.
Yeah, love that.
I'm very proud of that one. He should be very proud of that one. He took it, but
Oh my gosh.
absolutely.
I know we're a writing show and I should be asking a little more about the writing, but what are you taking pictures with? Is this with an iPhone? Do you have one of those big fancy cameras with a million lenses?
Yeah, so I do have a Nikon that I've used for years. I'm not gonna say that's my preferred method or preferred brand of camera, but I've had it since I was in high school. I've always loved photography, so I've used my phone, I've used that camera. Some of the pictures in the book are from classes, same type of thing. I feel like my passion really came out when I was studying them. So I think that the topics of photography and poetry, really, it helps when the teachers are, helping you. And there's good teachers and bad teachers, and I'm really, really thankful to have had great teachers in high school that really helped my passion come out, and in college. So I'm very grateful for that as well.
Fabulous. Tell me a little bit about the poems. Was it nice to get them up your chest? Was it painful? Was it like journeying through the dark valley and let me get the heck out of there? Did they flow easily? Was it rough? Those kind of.
Yes. Well, at the time, it really was extremely therapeutic. So I would say it felt great to write it down. I think now reading a lot of them is kind of painful at times, because it brings me back to a really difficult time in my life where I didn't know my worth, and there were a lot of things going on. And I just think that if I didn't have that, I don't know what else I would have done to channel it. So I'm very glad that I had that at the time, because I think it was a release. And even now reading them, it feels so satisfying to me, because just to have my message across to people and to know that I could make a difference is amazing.
I am so glad that you said what you did, that at the time of writing, it was a release and it was therapeutic. But that reading them now, it could be painful, because, I'm sure that there are other people who are writing and they're thinking, I thought I got through the therapy part, so I should be good now. And no, I think that it is going to be painful to read back. I think it's very valuable because when you read back, it is painful to say, wow, I was there. That's
Yes.
But to look at yourself now and say, but I'm here. But yeah, no, any of us, when we look back, we're like, and I'm so glad you vocalized it the way you did, because I could see other people writing something that it's a release, but having that same experience of, oh God, now I read it. And now it's like slapping me back in the face again.
Definitely. It's like putting everything into a bottle and burying it and then bringing it back up. It's always going to bring back those feelings, but the feelings are what made it amazing in the first place. So you have to be thankful for the journey.
Yeah.
Was there anyone who particularly, any writer, poet that you particularly influenced you?
Wow. I love Edgar Allan Poe and I love Sylvia Plath.
Well, so do I. I started out writing poetry all through high school, college. I went to Columbia University MFA program for one semester, but it was a focus on poetry.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
A focus on poetry. Well, Edgar Allan Poe, I remember being a young person reading Poe for the first time. And I don't know, maybe I was a glutton for punishment. I did it on a dark and stormy night, lit a candle, waited till my parents were out. I was home by myself. I really wanted to like.
That's amazing.
That. And then I didn't sleep for like 5 years after that.
That's awesome. Yes, I definitely gravitate towards Gothic. I love Gothic poetry. Emily Dickinson too is one of my most inspired. I'm most inspired by her, and yeah, I absolutely love them. So
what is next on your hit parade? Never mind the job market, who cares? What's next on your creative hit parade? What's going on with you?
yeah, so I'm definitely going to work on another book. I already have a lot of poems. As I said, things happen and I write and it helps me and it ends up being great, and I can sculpt it and change it and do whatever I can to make it more, intuitive and easier to understand. But also mysterious, because I like that. I like for it to be a little misunderstood. There's the Gothic part. But yeah, so I'm definitely gonna work on writing another book. I'm definitely taking a lot of photos. I've been working on a lot of videography projects.
Ooh.
Really interesting. Yeah. So
very cool. Well, I can't wait to read the next part of the journey.
thank you.
Awesome. On a completely and totally different note, our next author, Michael Goodwin, is the author of Vice Versa, an alternative history of the 2020 presidential election. And the author writes, imagine if the 2020 presidential election were the mirror image of 2016, as the Biden campaign is accused of receiving aid from the People's Republic of China. In this alternative universe, the media is mostly pro-Trump and the FBI rife with MAGA supporters. Gary Wang, a low-level Biden staffer, somehow becomes the center of the maelstrom and is pursued by the media, politicians, and the FBI. Vice Versa is a satirical take on the comedy and tragedy of current American media and politics. Please welcome author Michael Goodwin. That's quite a mouthful right there. I must ask, what inspired this? I mean, certainly I know the 2020 election, but what this satirical take, what made you go in that direction?
Well, I've always been interested in politics ever since I was really a little kid. So I follow it, and I just look at the current situation, particularly in 2020, when we had, I think, the terrible choice that we had as far as that election. And I've been a Republican most of my adult life, moderate. I'm not a Trump guy at all. I make plenty of fun of him in the book. Of course, there's infinite amount of material. I think the best thing that one of the best things people have said to me after reading the book is that we couldn't tell what your political stance is, which is the way I wanted it.
Exactly.
I mean, both sides get their fair share of abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Is the way I wanted it. But I did. I guess I really started thinking about it. Conceived of it. The Russian collusion investigation. Like I said, I think Trump is overall a pretty despicable person, but I always was very skeptical of the Russian collusion. I was thinking, do people really think he's a Manchurian candidate, that Putin calls the shots, that he's a total puppet? And a lot of serious people were saying things like that. A lot of them now disavow what they said, act like they never said it. But I was also disturbed by the way the media handled it. There didn't seem to be any curiosity about what is really behind the Steele dossier, which was sort of the main part of the main evidence in the investigation. So I thought, what would happen if you had the reverse and Biden was falsely accused of colluding with China? The media was all pro-Trump. The FBI was full of Trump people. How would people think about that? Would it be the same reaction? So that was the overarching thing. And I meant for it to be satire. I want people to laugh,
Mhm.
and also think. I think one of the main themes is how a person, in this case Gary Wang, who is a Chinese American low-level staffer with the Biden campaign, just through coincidence and misunderstanding, he somehow becomes like the person who's implicated in this whole thing. He's totally innocent, but his life is destroyed.
Mm.
And I think that's one of the main themes, how easy that can happen to anyone.
Yeah.
And, whether you're Republican, Democrat, conservative, progressive, you should be concerned about how that can happen, and how things can be manipulated by the media and the government to really, if they want to, really just destroy a person. So that and I think the other main theme is the divisiveness of the country today. I do want people to laugh, but at the same time, I want them to kind of have some sober thoughts about the current state of things and how we're at each other's throats. And I'm 65 years old, and I've never seen. I lived through the 60s, and I was, as a preteen, but that was, I thought, as bad as it could get. It's funny, people talk about 1968 as being the peace and love and all that. As a kid, 13 years old, I was scared. I'm not going to cuss on this, but I was scared out of my pants. Let's just put it that way. And it was a really kind of a scary time, assassinations and whatever, and riots and protests. But this current era seems even worse, because back then we all sort of had a common system of beliefs and ideals that no matter what side you were on, you sort of clung to those. Martin Luther King and Richard Nixon were on the polar opposites of political spectrum, but they both shared sort of a common understanding of America, I guess, which I don't think we really have today, which makes it even more dangerous.
I'm so glad you mentioned your, I'll call it sub-theme underneath the political intrigue, about how a life can be destroyed so easily. And I think, quite frankly, all of us in one sense or another live right on that edge, because all of us are kind of in the news, social media, you hear about, even down to grade school and bullying incidences and stuff like that, whether it's traditional media or whether it's social media, a person's life can be changed in an instant. And I'm glad you used that as kind of a sub theme. I do have to ask you though, when you wrote this book, when you first conceived this book, who were you thinking were your target market? If your book is coming out kind of, everyone's being thrown under the bus, shall we say, who were you hoping would be your readers?
Well, I think anyone who is interested in politics. Obviously, that's the first segment of the population. As far as being even-handed and like I said, giving both Biden and Trump their fair share of abuse. I don't know. It's satire is most effective when someone can look in a mirror and recognize themselves, but also laugh at themselves. And I think Trump people, and I know plenty of people voted for Trump, friends, coworkers, family, but I think they're often caricatured in a way that doesn't represent a lot of them. But I think they can look at the way I depict him and laugh and wonder, how in the hell could I've ever voted for that guy? On the other hand, Biden people, Democrats are going to probably think the same thing. They'll laugh and probably think the same thing. That's what satire. That's the point of satire. Yeah. And this is a satirical book. And but again, I like people. I hope people think about what's going on today and be concerned. And so the book ends on kind of a deferred Armageddon in a sense. I don't want to give it away, but
no spoilers.
It gets very hairy at the end. The book also has a thriller element. Gary Wang having to extricate himself from this situation where he's being pursued by media, FBI, and he flees. He actually is on the point of getting arrested, and he actually runs. And there's a backstory why he did that involves his brother, who is, well, he's a criminal and runs sort of a drug empire out of Chinatown. But I don't want, like I said, I don't want to go too far.
No spoilers. No spoilers.
No, there's a thriller element too. There's political. It's kind of mixed political satire, thriller element, and just a reflection on the current state of politics and media in our country.
Sounds good. Well, our next author also has a retelling of a story, shall we say. Abigail Manning is the author of Poisoned Heart, a retelling of Snow White. And she writes, Princess Arabella is truly the fairest in all the land, and she knows it. With her pretty face, elaborate ball gowns, and glorious castle, she truly lives the perfect royal life. That is, until she is forced out of her home by a mysterious assassin. With only the clothes on her back and the tiara on her head, Arabella flees from her castle in the dead of winter. As a last resort for shelter, Arabella takes up work in a laundry mill with 7 other women. The once adored princess is now subjected to sleeping in piles of dirty laundry, but at least she is hidden. Well, she hopes so. In the midst of her deadly game of hide and seek, she discovers that her kingdom is endangered by her absence. With the help of a dashing captain, a quirky noble, and her 7 new companions, she must protect both her life and her kingdom. Will Arabella learn what true beauty is as she navigates her new life as a nameless commoner? While evil builds and secrets unfold, there may be more than her heart that's poisoned. Poisoned Heart is from the Emerald Realm series, the first book. Please welcome author Abigail Manning. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Oh my goodness. Love the thought of the retelling of the fairy tale, shall we say. The Emerald Realm series. How many books are going to be in this series?
There's going to be 5 in the Emerald Realm series, and I'm already working on a follow-up series that will have 5 as well.
Oh, okay. Is the follow-up also, shall we say, classic fairy tales or something different?
They're all classic fairy tales, but they're not all Grimm's fairy tales. There's a little bit of different fairy tales slipped in there that are still like something you would find in your typical childhood book.
Fantastic. So tell me, when you were 5 years old and watching or reading Snow White for the first time, did you have this alternate story going already and it took until now?
I did not. I really didn't start getting into retellings until about a year ago. I didn't start actually writing until July of this past year. So I haven't been at it for very long. It hasn't been a year yet. But
what started you in July? Boy, I love what it's done for you.
Thank you. Yeah, I was always interested in writing. And then one day, well, actually for a whole week, I had the week off work. I'm a nanny. And so the family was on vacation for a week. So I was like, what'll happen if I sit down and try to write? And it just kind of never stopped from there.
Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. And you wrote this. Are there any other books that are ready to publish or not yet?
I actually have 3 published right now. And the 4th is coming out on June 18th.
Wow, you have had all of this while still being a nanny, or did we ditch the kids already?
Oh no, I'm still a nanny. I'm
How old are the kids? Do you read them fairy tales?
I do actually. The youngest one is 1 and the oldest is 3.5 almost. So
okay, well, Poisoned Heart sounds maybe a little bit too adult for them. Is
a little
that?
bit.
Yeah. But you can think about it while you're with them. That's very cool. Wow, you are quite prolific. Now I have to ask you, how are you getting all this done while also being a nanny? You staying up all night writing, or how is it working for you?
No, actually, so I actually work part-time, so that helps. I only do 30 hours a week. So I'm always home by 2 o'clock every day, and my husband doesn't get off work until 4:30. So pretty much for 2.5 hours every day, I am just plowing away at my computer. Today, I think I knocked out 3,000 words before jumping on here just to get through it all. So
Wow, that is structured that you can, that's very cool that you can like come home from work and write on demand. You don't just sit there in front of the computer like, I don't know.
that still happens from time to time, but I try to regulate it a little bit.
Very cool that you can do that. I mean, goodness, some of us can't even shower on demand. So that's now you mentioned a husband. Has he read the books?
Oh yeah, he's the first who reads them. Bless his heart. He has to sit there and listen to me read every chapter. I'm like, okay, is this what guys do? Is this attractive to you? Would this work here? Because they're all kind of romance. So he has to go through all of them.
So you do get a male perspective in on this.
I definitely do.
Oh, I think that's fabulous. You don't know how many times, Abigail, I'll have someone on and I'll ask, did your husband read them? And they're like, he doesn't read any of these books. He has no idea what I write about, nothing. So he's a good sport about this.
He's really good sport about it. I even told him before I started, I was like, hey, after I get done with this interview, can I read you these last 2 chapters? He's like, yeah, I'll listen to them.
Oh. Does he have any creative endeavors that you have to put up with because he is so supportive of the books? Like, do you have to look at, fancy cars or something? I don't know.
I'm actually trying to be a writer too. Him and a friend who's already published are working on co-authoring a book that they're just now getting started on. So it's a switching back and forth kind of a deal.
Well, look at you. You have been an inspiration in the home. I think that is just fabulous. So it was just since July. Now, do you not sleep at night, or do you have all these dreams of fairy tales gone awry? What is going on?
I am ridiculous. I am a baby. I'm asleep at like 9 o'clock every night because I have to get up so early to go be a nanny. So I pretty much just get off from work and I'll write until whatever time my husband gets off, or if he goes to go do something else, I take advantage of that time too. And then I'll spend a lot of time on the weekends writing because I don't do much anyway. So
that's fantastic. And it all just flows right out of you. Now, since you are our fiction writer here, are you just kind of flying by the seat of your pants with this? Do you have a structure? Do you know who's going to die at the end, the whole bit, or, how's that go?
I definitely do have a bit of a structure. I always knew which fairy tales I was going to retell ever since I started and in what order I was going to retell them. And then before I even started writing the first book, I figured out how they were all going to integrate. So the whole series they're all different fairy tales that are retold, but they have an underlying plot that is solved throughout the duration of the series. So there's one overarching villain that kind of keeps coming back around, and you don't really get to see him defeated until the last book. Ooh. And some of the other characters come back and play important roles in the other ones as well. So even though they have individual stories with individual main characters, they're not exactly standalones either.
Oh, I like that overarching theme through all of them. Now, tell me something. When they make the movie out of these, have you already picked out? I mean, I have a beautiful cover here. I didn't know if this was like your vision for Snow White, or if you have an actress chosen. Who's going to be playing Snow White in the movie?
Oh my goodness. I get asked this question a couple times. And to be honest, I'm so bad with actors and their names. So I will look at somebody and be like, they'd be great. What's their name again? And I completely forget. So I'm not great at it. Everyone keeps telling me though that I sometimes look like her. And I actually made a TikTok video where I found a dress that looked just like hers and tried it on and tried to mirror the book image. And she looks better in it, but it was very fun.
If you could find that dress, I told you before we started the show, I was loving that dress on her. You have a version of that dress. So you have a TikTok that you're posting to.
I do. It's very small. It's a very baby account right now, but it's Abigail Manning author, and that's all. It's very small.
Your 5 followers are on TikTok, or you're doing better than that yet?
I've got a little over 100, but
okay, you're getting off.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna head over your TikTok just to see the one with you in the dress. I mean,
have fun.
Absolutely. Do you enjoy being on TikTok or social media? Because some authors find it like a drag.
I enjoy some. I actually enjoy Instagram a little bit. I feel like the people on Instagram are very like camaraderie like, and they're very like sweet and uplifting. TikTok, I feel the pressure because there's a lot to like live up to because everyone has very high TikTok standards. So that one I'm kind of like still like dipping my toes into and figuring it out. And the other ones I just kind of like, they're my background ones where I'll post on them, but I don't really like get into them as much.
I gotcha. Steph, how about you? Are you on you're on Instagram, I think. Are you also on TikTok?
Me?
Yes, you
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. It's Steph by the Moon, but I don't have TikTok. I really, unpopular opinion, I don't like TikTok at all. I would say.
You're allowed. We can be honest.
Okay. I didn't know if like everybody was a diehard TikTok fan, but I play to what I'm good at. I'm good at Instagram. I love photos, obviously. So that's about it. That's like my favorite thing.
You said what you just did, that you play to what you're good at. You know, if you're having a good time on TikTok, and Abigail sounds like she's having a good time,
Exactly.
she got a nice dress out of it and everything.
There you go.
You know, too often I'm asked by people, you know, where should I be? And how many networks should I have? And my answer is always kind of, go where you're comfortable and you know, gravitate, like try something on for size, just even like a viewer before you even, you know, jump head first. And if you're not liking a platform, don't commit because it's not for you. So if TikTok is fun, then that's great. But if it's like drudgery, why would you do it? You know?
Exactly.
Social media could be drudgery already. Michael, what about you? Are you on social media?
Well, I'm kind of a dinosaur. My publisher got me to get on Facebook, which I really wasn't on before, and Instagram. I'd been on LinkedIn, and I got on Twitter. And I'm just figuring out how to use it. I think Twitter I've been able to use to some extent that I think might be effective. LinkedIn, I posted like the Amazon cover on there. Got like 2,000 views or something like that.
Okay.
But I really haven't made a whole lot of use with Facebook, or I'm certainly not on TikTok. But Twitter, I really don't like. I mean, Twitter is, it's just a jungle. And,
I am so glad you are saying, you have no idea. I'm always glad when someone says something like you just did, Michael, that I think really gives permission to everybody else not to feel like you have to do things. Now, I know for the three of you, you've all written amazing books, and now you're up to the hard part, which is often marketing them.
Yes.
And that it can be very, very difficult. But I'm glad that you've come to realize that not all marketing activities are appealing to you. So tell me, what is appealing to you? What kinds of things? And this is not writing the book. This is since the book has been done. I mean, you could certainly say that your favorite thing so far, of course, has been being on Between the Covers with me, because that's, far and above your favorite thing. But besides that, what things have you done in the kind of marketing end that you have enjoyed? Michael, how about you? Do you have any?
Well, I've had a couple of book signings. I had one this past weekend.
Okay.
That went really well. I'm originally from Memphis, Tennessee. I think Steph, who said they're from Knoxville? Somebody's from Knoxville. Yeah. the other end of the state. But so I had a really successful one in Memphis, and and then I've had a couple in Connecticut where I live now.
Mm-hmm.
So I got those were fun.
And those were fun for you. Okay.
Yeah.
So how about you? What was your most fun thing you've done so far, Steph?
Well, I everybody keeps telling me I should do a book signing, and I really should. I think I'm gonna do that, but I just need to get everybody together. It's funny because we're talking about social media, and I act like I hate social media, but I do social media like for my job usually, and I have a pretty big following on Instagram, so that's really been my biggest source of advertising the book. And I got a lot of positive responses from friends and family. And I mean, it's, online, but
I totally get that love-hate relationship with
yes.
social media. I get it.
Yes, I was feeling that too. Like from when I published it, I was thinking, since everything's so remote, you think when you're going to publish a book, they give it to you. They're like, this is the transcript, you have it published. It's like an in-person thing. And I kind of just felt like very alone, like on my computer writing about.
I know.
Proud to announce
now. Exactly. Hopefully by the next book, things will be much more opened up. Abigail, how about you? What has been your favorite marketing thing for your book so far?
I think my favorite kind of marketing experience that I've had is I actually got the opportunity to do a radio interview last month, which was really cool.
That's fun.
And I could never prove it because it was live and no one recorded it, but it happened. So but it was just a super short, like 2-3 minute interview, which for me was great because it was done and over with super fast. So there's no time for me to worry about it or get nervous or like think about what I was saying. And there wasn't a camera, so it was just me talking. And it was just a really cool thing to do. And like the few people who like tuned in that I knew were like, I heard you on the radio. That was awesome. And I really did get a lot of good feedback after. I got an uptick in sales, which I wasn't expecting to really get from just a 2-minute interview on the radio, but it actually really helped. And it was really fun and something that I can kind of check off the bucket list that I didn't know I had.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. And that points to the fact that the journey in some cases has only just begun, and it is a big adventure. So if that's your favorite thing that you've had so far, what's one of the marketing things that, or even writing things that you'd like to leave behind the next time around? Like, I tried this once. I never want to do it again. It was a complete disaster. Abigail is laughing, so she gets the question first.
Oh goodness. There's a few. I've had a couple like blog interviews that I've done where the questions were very oriented towards a topic that was other than books, which I mean is understandable to like a degree, where it's like, oh, you want to get to know the author, but they had a very different agenda on what they were asking. They just happened to pull in authors to answer the questions. And it wasn't necessarily like bad or anything. It was just very difficult because I didn't really know what to say or like how to reorient it towards my books, or if that was even what they wanted. Like, do you want me to talk about the books, or do you want me to talk about this issue that you're bringing up that you want my opinion on? Which I guess is okay, but it doesn't make sense for a book author interview. Yeah.
In the future, you can kind of pre-screen. You'll get a sixth sense about which ones are going to have a focus on things that you want to focus on, and not kind of get snowballed into things, shall we say. Steph, how about you? Has anything been like truly distasteful? Like, wow, I put one toe on Twitter and never again it got bit off. Like something?
That's really funny. Honestly, I don't think I've had anything horrible happen. I said the thing about, I know, that's great, right? Knock on wood. I said the thing about Instagram. I don't think that was my favorite thing though. I definitely loved the most when I went to Hood to do a podcast for my professor that did the cover.
Wow.
So I forgot to say that. That was definitely my favorite thing. And he's so kind and just makes you feel so welcome and at home. So it was relaxing for me, which I usually am not relaxed when doing an interview, but he made it really nice. So
You look really relaxed today. So I'm happy.
Oh, thanks. That's all an act. I'm just kidding.
And Michael, how about you? Has there been anything truly distasteful about writing or releasing this book?
I think, I guess a disappointment was, and it's too early to say, but I got on Goodreads.
Okay.
And, you pay like $115 and to get on, and then you have a book giveaway.
Mm-hmm.
And the people who receive the book are supposed to write reviews.
Right.
So I did a giveaway of 10 books, and there was probably 600, 700 people who put their name in for the giveaway. Mm-hmm. And they selected 10 people at random, and I sent the books to them. I mean, I don't know if it's even been a month, so maybe I'm over expecting a quick response, but I'm still waiting for the first review.
Yes. Well, I'm so glad you mentioned book reviews are rough.
Yeah, and that's very hard for us. I think probably for all three of us to get a review. I did get a review, one 5-star review from Reader's Favorite, and was lucky to get a couple of blurbs from jacket blurbs from authors. One of whom particularly was kind of a prominent person, so that helped.
Fantastic.
But figuring out, my publisher is a small, independent, traditional publisher, and just doesn't have a lot of resources.
Right.
So trying to figure out myself how to do marketing, it's just a learn as you go thing. And
it is.
I don't have a lot of free time either.
And quite frankly, even if your publisher was one of the big five,
yeah,
left up to the author in so many cases.
Yeah, you hear constant complaints from writers with the big publishers talk about how they're disappointed in the effort.
Yeah, it's a big effort, and I think that a lot of writers wish that writing the book was the big effort, and then they were done and could lie on a desert island and just kind of coast. And it's never quite so simple.
Yeah, I mean, some people are okay with, hey, I've got my family and friends and a little circle maybe outside of that who all read it and liked it. Well, some people, that's enough. But yeah, I think if you really, I never tell people they should go into this thinking they're going to make money. It just doesn't really happen.
Good advice. Good advice. Well, I do want to remind all of our viewers of your books, and I want to ask you, if I'm going shopping tonight, because I have a long list on my shopping list. I'm going to start with Steph. Who should I be buying your book for? Can you describe who on my shopping list should be getting a copy of She Rises?
Wow, the type of person that I think would like
the type of person who you think would be a perfect fit for me to buy a copy.
Okay, I would say a free-spirited person, man or woman, but it is about women empowerment. So I would say that women might enjoy it more or understand it more. People that have been through things that they feel alone for, just to know that they aren't alone and we're all going through similar things, and that I'm a hand to hold, and you can read my book and know that I went through all of this, and poetry was extremely therapeutic to me. So if you're a writer as well, check it out, and I hope you like it.
That's a great description, and all of us know people who completely fit that bill, that's for sure. So thank you. Michael, please describe who I should be buying vice versa for.
Well, as I said, it's a political book, and anyone who follows politics, some people do and some people don't, and also want to have a good laugh at the way things are today, and have underlying story that has a thriller element to it. And so you kind of have both of those together, and makes you, and a book that will also make you think. So anyone who looks for that type of thing will definitely enjoy my book, I think.
Fabulous. And Abigail, who should I be buying Poisoned Heart for today?
So these books are definitely young adult oriented. They're very quick reads. They're super fun and exciting, but also very sweet and romantic. They're all clean. So even like a 13-year-old could read this without their parents staring over their shoulder and being worried. But anyone who just enjoys fairy tales and seeing them retwisted in a way that they thought they knew, but it's not really what they knew, or someone who just likes getting into a more fantasy series, even if they don't really care if it's fairy tale related, they're different enough that you wouldn't have to notice it if you didn't want to. So just anyone who likes a clean romantic fantasy read.
Fantastic. Thank you. And thank you for such a detailed description too from all of you, because we want people to run right out and buy the books. I hope everyone also noted all of your web addresses so that they can sign up. Hopefully our authors will take your name and send you all sorts of good stuff, like news about what's next. Now, Steph, I know you're working on more poetry, more pictures, more Steph.
Yes, exactly.
Sounds good to me. And Michael, what are you working on next?
Well, funny enough, but many years ago, I was writing a book, and I just kind of set it aside And about a year ago, before I wrote Vice Versa, I pulled it out and started reading it. I said, damn, this is good. So I'm going to take that and finish it, reshape it, and see what happens with that. It's practically written. I just put it aside,
Boy, oh boy, I wish I would find some practically written things in my desk drawers, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And Abigail, are you working on book 4 or the new series? What's going on?
So book 4 is scheduled to launch on June 18th. I also have the whole Emerald Realm series done. I've got the first book of the second series prepared. And right now I'm actively working on my 7th book, which is the first book in a completely different series that I'm hoping to take another direction. So
Wow, we better get on that mailing list. All 3 of you have got all sorts of things going on. Well, please do me a favor, the 3 of you, when the next book comes out, please be sure to join us here on Between the Covers. And as much as you can stomach social media, make sure you're connected to me so that I can share you with our audiences.
Hey, Stephanie, just one last thing. I think the easiest way for someone to get my book is on Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com.
Absolutely. Thank you, Michael.
Okay.
And thanks to everyone for joining me Between the Covers, and happy writing.
Thank you.
Thank you.